we're gonna move on. I moved away from my screen, but I remember Eric, you're next. I believe Eric, you're next. Hold
Yes.
on. Cool. Eric, take it away.
All right. This is finally fast feature flags, or as it was called, optimizing feature toggles. Why is this work being prioritized? Vets API performance was being evaluated, and feature toggles was identified as a slow endpoint with a lot of requests. About 3 million requests per day hit this endpoint. What is the current state? Work is completed and available in production. And what data user feedback will you look at to understand if it's having the intended impact? Traces in Datadog and the P90 latencies for feature toggles endpoint. Demo. Um, we'll go here, I suppose. So this is what the flame graph looked like about 2 weeks ago, and we can see that in Datadog. This is also what the APM information looked like. So this is July 19th, the whole day, and the fastest for P50 was 5:29 in like the morning, and then slowly it would rise where even for the most optimal experience it was around 600 milliseconds, and in the worst cases we were hitting almost a whole second for P95, so 954 milliseconds. And that was because if we look at the old code, this is what it was um, 2 weeks ago or so. Um, this is where we pull in all the features, and we would loop over every feature we have defined and then individually query the database. And in fact, this was so noisy that somebody added a silencer so that you could enable mute Flipper logs so it wouldn't spam your logs when you're doing development. So um, this probably was efficient initially when we only had like 10 features, but we're in the 300 to 400 features range. And let's look at the what that would look like for calls. So all of these are calls to Redis. Uh, each one, only taking a second. That one took 1.8, I'm sorry, a millisecond. This one taking 1.8 milliseconds. But there are, 300 here. I don't know, 400. Um, so average time was around 600 milliseconds. The new flame graph, or let's look at the new code, um, caches the global information, the global feature toggles. So what the feature toggles look like for everyone if you're not logged in for a minute, and then it just adds the special values for each person. So it does query once for only the flags that need it. So it turns out to be less than 10% of our flags actually need to query versus what's the general feature state for everybody. So that looks like something like this, where we're getting, I don't know, 15 or so requests to Redis. And again, they're taking 1 millisecond. So, even at 2 milliseconds, that would be 30 extra milliseconds to the request. So if we look at the average time now, this was last Monday, our worst case scenario is around 57 milliseconds. So 57 down from worst case scenario 900 milliseconds. So this is that endpoint, and if I just open it in my browser, I'll do it a few times here. It loads pretty fast. Now I don't have the old version around to show that, but what I could do is simulate that by putting a dot on the screen. Now this is the worst case scenario, which was, a large percentage, at least 5% of our users were seeing this speed each time they hit a page, and this includes like all the front end pages need to know the feature toggle state to display a form, perhaps. So I noticed before certain forms you would open and they would just be blank for about a second, and then they would appear. And turns out that's because they are loading feature toggles in the background. So this is a comparison of our now worst case scenario. That's what the comparison would look like if you're requesting over and over and over. So forms load way faster. They're presented to users way faster because they are taking 900 or they're about 16 times faster now. So that is finally fast feature flags. I do have a bonus content. My daughter feeding her chickens. I thought it was a great picture, but then I looked and I'm not sure what's going on with my dog there, but uh there they are feeding. I think she might have fell over or something. I don't know. Um, but I have Allie feed our chickens every day, and recently I have to go help guard her as one of the roosters is mean. We've had several that are mean. It's they keep stepping up as we process them. Another one takes the place, so I have to go protect her sometimes. All right, that's all I have.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. And thank you for presenting it in a way that makes sense to people like me who don't understand. I can understand dots loading on a screen. So thank you for that. And awesome efficiency. That's seems like a really big win for your team. Congrats.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Eric? We have time.